There are the ones the city forces into silence. Stories scrubbed from magazines, buried under contracts, and erased from the golden memory of American cinema. This is one of those stories. The blue-eyed legend. The rebel with the angel's smile. The actor who moved through Hollywood as if carved from gentleness and fire. Cool Hand Luke. The verdict. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. To the world, he was the last honest man in a dishonest town. But behind the roles, the fame, and the perfect marriage image was a fracture Hollywood never allowed the public to see. And at the center of it stood a woman whose name has nearly vanished from history. Her name was Evelyn Hart, a woman the newspapers once called the next great American mystery. Sharp in a way that intimidated executives. But most importantly, Evelyn Hart was the only woman who ever made Paul Newman forget the world beyond a single moment. It began in 1966 during a stormy Beverly Hills charity gala at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. Hollywood royalty floated across the ballroom, directors, starlets, moguls, reporters. But according to those who were there, the real story began the second Paul Newman looked up and saw Evelyn Hart for the first time. She was standing near the balcony, hair curled in soft waves, a silver dress shimmering each time lightning flashed outside. She looked ethereal, like a photograph that had somehow stepped into motion. A waiter later claimed Paul Newman paused mid-sentence when he first saw her, a rare moment for a man known for calm control. They talked for only 15 minutes that night. But to anyone watching, it looked like the beginning of a storm Hollywood would never be ready for. Within weeks, rumors began circling the Paramount lot. Late-night rehearsals, accidentally, stretching past 2 a.m. studio lights left on in Newman's trailer long after everyone had gone home. A whispered argument behind a closed dressing room door. A shared cigarette behind stage 8, the smoke curling between them like a secret ceiling shut. One day, a young assistant claimed he saw Paul place his hand on Evelyn's back as they walked through a quiet corridor, a gesture too intimate, too unguarded, too real. And Hollywood, a city built on desire but terrified of truth, began to panic. Crew members spoke of evenings when Paul Newman would stay on set hours after wrap just to finish notes. But they also claimed Evelyn Hart stayed too. One night, the stagehands swore they saw two silhouettes inside Paul's trailer, too close, moving in rhythm, voices soft like two people sharing something neither of them were supposed to feel. Another crewman reported seeing Evelyn leaving the studio at 4:12 a.m., hair undone, coat thrown over her shoulders, eyes heavy with an exhaustion that didn't look like acting. A studio driver later said he dropped Newman off at Evelyn's Laurel Canyon apartment on at least 3 separate nights. But Hollywood is a machine that knows its stars the way priests know their saints. Paul Newman wasn't just a heartthrob. He was a brand. A symbol of loyalty and goodness at a time when America needed men like him to believe in. A public affair would destroy him, and possibly Evelyn. And so the machine began to turn. The first blow came quietly. Scenes Evelyn had been rehearsing for were suddenly reassigned. Scripts she was promised were delayed indefinitely. Producers who'd fought to cast her now refused to return her calls. Then came the meeting. A studio executive summoned her to Building C, Room 432, a room the industry jokingly called the room where careers disappear. No one knows exactly what was said, but when Evelyn left the building that day, her face was pale, her hands shook, and she didn't return to set. Her contract was adjusted. Her promotional spread and photoplay was canceled. Her name was quietly removed from 3 upcoming projects. Hollywood didn't fire her. It simply erased her. But the hardest part, the part only those closest to Paul noticed, was what it did to him. During the filming of The Verdict, nearly 15 years after the alleged affair, a stagehand observed Paul sitting alone on a staircase in the courthouse set. He wasn't rehearsing. He wasn't reading. He wasn't even smoking. He was staring at the floor as if remembering something he wished he could forget and refusing to let it go at the same time. Paul had this sadness some days, the stagehand later said. Not sadness like grief, but sadness like a door that closed before he got a chance to walk through it. His co-star recalled that during breaks, Paul would drift off, completely lost in thought, only to snap back with that world-famous smile, a smile that suddenly felt like a mask carved too tightly across his face. Even journalists saw the cracks. During a 1979 interview, a reporter asked him about missed opportunities. Paul smiled, looked away, and replied, "Some stories would have been beautiful if only life allowed them to be lived." The reporter assumed he meant film roles. But the crew members knew better. By 1971, Evelyn Hart had all but vanished from Hollywood. No farewell tour, no press announcement, no goodbye interview. She simply disappeared. A former makeup artist claims Evelyn took a train out of Los Angeles early one morning, wearing sunglasses even though it was still dark. She held a single suitcase, moving like a woman determined never to be photographed again. Some say she moved to the East Coast. Others swear she joined a theater company in Europe. A few claim she married a quiet man who had no idea he was holding the heart once desired by one of Hollywood's brightest stars. But the most haunting rumor came from a retired Paramount publicist. Evelyn never stopped loving Paul. And he never stopped wondering what their lives might have looked like if Hollywood had let them be human. Paul Newman remained devoted to his wife, his family, and his career. He built a legacy of compassion and integrity few actors have ever achieved. But the people who knew him, the ones who saw him when the lights were off and the scripts were closed, said his eyes changed after Evelyn left. The sparkle stayed. The kindness stayed. The mischief stayed. But there was something else. A quiet echo, a ghost of memory, a soft ache trapped behind those legendary blue eyes. One friend said, "He smiled for the world, but some days his smile ended before it reached his eyes." Another added, "Paul carried something he never said out loud. Maybe it was love. Maybe it was regret." Paul Newman never admitted the affair. He never denied it either. He simply lived on, a graceful survivor of a world that eats its own stories. And Evelyn Hart, the woman who might have rewritten his life, remains a ghost in the archives, a missing chapter in Hollywood history. But among the old crew, the stagehands, the makeup artists, the people who saw what the cameras never did, the whispers remain. There was a night Paul Newman forgot he was a legend. A night he allowed himself to be just a man. A night in a quiet Laurel Canyon apartment where two hearts collided before Hollywood forced them apart. The city buried it. The studios erased it. The magazines never printed it. But the rumor lives on. Because even saints have secrets. Even icons have heartbreaks. And Paul Newman, with his blue eyes and quiet fire, carried a secret love Hollywood was never meant to know.